I'm Marsha Schmid, Miss Retro USA 2019-2020, and now a motivational speaker. I'm so honored to be interviewed by Keith Andrew at the Keith Andrew Network. Thank you to him and to all those wrapping me. And listen carefully because I don't speak clearly. Love you.
For people who want to know what is the Keith Andrew Network, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. And at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities that never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. Prove them and stem out to something. Following's brought to you by HB Gibson, home of the X Zone. Get in the zone. Also brought to you by Wife of a Fighter. They're kind of like what we're doing with the whole disability thing. Like I said, labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be. So, Wife of a Fighter, never give up and keep on fighting. Also, I know that's not their hashtag, but that's the hashtag I created for them. They should use that. But also, if you like animation, definitely check out Anime Adventures. All that streaming on the Keith Andrew Network. Make sure to go to Keith Andrew Network on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Like, subscribe, follow today. But it's not about me, it's about our guest today. So the first question I want to ask you is tell our audience a little bit about yourself and type of work that you do.
I'm Marsha Schmid, Miss Retro USA 2019-2020. What I do now, as I'm not the queen anymore, I still promote the Miss Retro organization, the Dane Foundation, and I'm a motivational speaker to encourage people, like you said, to never give up, whether they have disability or not. Never ever give up.
No, I agree with you. You know, in fact, I was okay. I keep that thought to myself. Some things are better as not unsaid. But I'm just gonna say, when I first heard you speak, it took me back. But now that I'm sitting here and I'm listening more, and I remembered, you know what? Never judge a book by its cover. You know what? Yeah, I didn't mean to judge you. I do apologize. And people can judge me all the time, but there's people who want to strangle me all the time because I always piss them off. And I am socially awkward. With that being said, you know, with my disability, there's times where I would do something deliberately, but there's times where I would just be myself. But people don't know. It's like, is he doing that to be funny? Is he doing that to be serious? So with my disability, I know I have to work on that. But when I'm around people who have disabilities, I kind of have my guard up because that was kind of projected on me at a young age when I was 4. So not to tell you my life story or anything. I know I'm no prize myself, like I said. But anyway, but the point of having disabilities is to show people, hey, I may have to go over this. I may have to deal with that. But I'm going to show you, look at what I'm capable of doing. I create my own show. You're an example of that because you are in a wheelchair. You were in the Miss Pageant of 2019 and 20, and you're a stroke survivor. So with those things that I'm going to say accomplished, because no one wants to have a stroke. That's not a big accomplishment. But the point is you overcame those obstacles in your life. And now you're a motivational speaker. So you have a story to tell. You know, for me, people are like, oh, he's some guy, you know, has a podcast, big deal. But when they look at you, you know, you went through so much and you have a wonderful, heartfelt story. you're more of an inspiration than I am. So I take my hat off to you.
I'm not. You're an inspiration, Keith. Look at you. Be proud of who you are. You've done wonderful. But you're right. People judge us just by judging a book by its cover. They don't know what we've been through, what we've overcome, and what we're capable of. We want the same things they do, which go about a little bit different sometimes. So be kind. That's the bottom line, because we're going to get there too.
No, absolutely. I do want to ask you a personal question, if you don't mind. When you were in the peasant of 2019 and 20, did the stroke put you in a wheelchair, or did that happen afterwards?
It did. I had a brain stem stroke in 2011. It affected my speech, obviously, my breathing, my heart rate, my mobility, my use of the right side, my breathing, swallowing, you name it. I was locked in, was like comatose. I couldn't even open my eyes first. I was paralyzed with my neck down. But I knew I had to keep fighting. In order to light on my faith, my positive mindset, and came back from all that. And now, like I said, I have a story to tell. I never had a story before. I want to share with people. They can overcome anything. Your life circumstances don't define you.
And I didn't mean to impose on you at all. But I do want to ask you one more thing. You know, after you recovered from having a stroke and you realized you're in a wheelchair, you had either, one or two options. You could be miserable and say, my life, it's over, or you can move forward. And apparently that's what you did. So let's go back before you went into the peasants. What made up your mind at that very moment says, you know what, my life doesn't stop right here because I'm in a wheelchair and I'm a stroke survivor. What gave you that motivation to say, you know what, I'm going to move forward?
Well, I'm a woman of faith, and I really rely on that. And also, before the stroke, I was a nationally ranked speaker bodybuilding competitor. I was very driven, and I focused on the discipline, the aspect. What you see today is not where you want to be. So you keep going, you do what you have to do. Sometimes it's painful, but you get through it, achieve the goals that you want for your life. No one writes your life story with you and God. So together, make it happen.
Absolutely. It's kind of like that Walt Disney quote. If anyone ever seen Meet the Robinsons, it's kind of like in the end credits. It says that they highlight it, keep moving forward. But that's what my hero, inspiration, Son Goku. I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. He says, if there's a will, there's a way. And there's so many different quotes you can use. There's one from The Dark Knight Rises where the guy who did fantastic actor, can't think of his name, but he did Two-Face. He said, it's always darkest before the dawn. Are you listening to Robin Williams doing Shakespeare? Once more into the deep we go, or once more into the trances. It was a William Churchill speech. So, there's so many different quotes you can use that if you're in the shitter, it is PG-13, obviously, freedom of speech. But if you're in the shitter, don't get down on yourself. Look at your situation and say, you know what? I'm going to learn and I'm going to get better out of this. But the question, go ahead.
No, I disagree with you. Go ahead.
So the other one I'm going to ask you is, what makes you a great role model? Obviously, you are a great role model, but
I think the main thing that makes you a great role model is showing women and people in general, with disabilities or not, that you can overcome. Anything thrown your way, you can overcome. But like I said, it's up to you and it was God to make it happen. You can't let anyone or anything stop you.
No, I agree with you. And, I said this for the past, thanks to we're up to 807. Actually, I might find it right here. I can tell you right now. We are up to 871. So for the record, thank you. For the record, I want to do this to the day I die. I'm not saying that to be funny. I'm not saying that to be cute. I found something that I want to do. Recently was my 8-year anniversary. Now I can say it's 8.5 years. I would love to have you part of the 9-year anniversary. I know that's next June, but we can talk about that off the air. But if you want to add it to your calendar or listeners, June 10th, next year, 8 p.m. Eastern, 9-year anniversary. And it isn't just, big deal, or, a 9-year anniversary. The reason I celebrated the whole entire month of June, all the fans are all going to interact with us. So you can send pictures of your cell phone and up signs, say we support the KeithAndrewNetwork, do video clips, will be played during the show. So it's really interactive. It's actually a lot of fun. Not a lot of people take advantage of that, but yeah, it's a work in progress. But the other question I want to ask you, what are your three greatest strengths that brought you to this position of being a motivational speaker?
My three greatest strengths. The first is my faith. The second is definitely not letting things stop me. As you can see, I have verbal issues, but I'm a motivational speaker. That should stop you, shouldn't it? No, nothing stops you. You chase your dreams. You do what you want to do. Go for it. And the third is my family support network. My family is very supportive, and that's what it takes to have someone in your corner. Whether it's your family or friend or spouse, you need someone to be your towel man, to say, go back in there and keep fighting.
No, I agree with you. There was a time, and I think it was my freshman year or my sophomore year, there was this, I wouldn't call him a motivational. Here's the difference between this person and you. Even though I am very sensitive around people with disabilities, I'm not saying I'm no prize myself. I'm just very sensitive around certain subjects because I wear my emotions on my sleeves. So a lot of people say, I'm very sensitive. But I would love to have had you come into my school and be a motivational speaker. Instead, it was right before, the senior prom or junior prom or whatever the hell it was. And they had this guy who was in a car accident. I mean, okay, yes, you feel horrible he was in a car accident, but then you find out the reason for it. He was drinking and driving. First off, I don't feel sorry for anyone who drinks and drives. They get what they deserve. It's not, what the joke is, it's never, and it's being serious too. There's never a cop around when you need them. So this jackass would be like passing you on the right, passing you on the left, and you're thinking to yourself, I'm the one with a learning disability, but this idiot over here cutting people off, flipping people off, drinking and driving, texting and driving, and they have a driver's license and I don't. So it's kind of like one of those things like my grandfather said a long time ago, when someone was speeding, I hope that person gets wrapped around a tree. But I don't feel sorry for people who speed and drive, who drink and drive. If you're stupid enough to put yourself in danger like that, you get what you deserve. Now, with that being said, that person was projected on every person in the audience, and he said, "Oh, don't be like me. Don't speed and drive." But you think about it, how many times can you hear the same story? Don't drink and drive. But when you can't, obviously you can't drive, but when you're in a car with your son or daughter, you see people who do the same exact thing. Don't speed and drive, but they're on the phone. People are a bunch of hypocrites. You know, a lot of people call me a hypocrite saying, you know, I have a disability, but I'm very sensitive to be around people with disabilities. That's because hold, I walk around with my emotions on my sleeve. I don't have a good poker face. I can't hide my emotions that well. And I'm not saying that to be an asshole or anything. I'm not saying around certain things, I'm very sensitive. And I hope, you know, you can understand what I'm trying to say. But anyway, that's not where I want to talk to you about. What I wanted to talk to you about is out of all your speaking engagements, what were some of your most memorable speaking gigs that you ever had?
Well, I think of the one at my church actually was the women's ministry. And when I finished, there was a dry in the room, and they stood up and gave us standing ovation. I knew at that point, that was the very beginning, that I could make a difference. I don't know what those ladies were facing, but I knew I got to the heart of them. And that's the kind of thing I do whenever I'm speaking to groups of any kind. There's someone that needs to hear my story. There's someone that has something going on in his life. They need hope. They need encouragement. So I'm glad I can get that to them in the morning.
Yeah, it's funny you said that we should be talking about this. The other question I want to ask you is what experience do you have in leading others?
What's that, sorry?
Oh, because we're talking about being a motivational speaker. So the next question I want to ask you is what experience do you have in leading others?
Well, let's see, I can start with everything. back in my early 20s, I won't tell all day now. I was made a manager, and I managed a team of 7. And this were from different backgrounds and different age groups, but I had to figure out what it was with each of them that drove them to success. And it's that same attitude that you could take and learn from everybody what they need to get them going. But they started even way back being captain of the cheerleading squad.
And this is actually a similar question. Well, most of these are like acting questions, but the thing is, I take the acting part out and I can replace it with being a motivational speaker, being a dancer. So it's a good question, but you're just taking the acting part out. It's funny what you can do with that. But what I wanted to ask you is, as a motivational coach, well, would you consider yourself a motivational coach or just a speaker?
A speaker. But if they need a coach, I'll be the coach too, whatever it takes.
Oh, absolutely. So as a motivational speaker, what values do you hold dear?
That's a great question, Keith. To me, the values I hold dear, and I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. It's my mantra now. Never give up. That means a lot to me because I know how lucky it can be. You could be the lowest point in your life and think it was all over. But you could rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Just never give up. And I have the faith inside of me too. And going, digging into that, relying on that, and knowing that this is for a reason. This isn't for me, it's for someone else. Live your life that way. Don't focus so much on you, but on what you can do for others.
I agree with you 100%. And the other question I want to ask you is, let's see. And by the way, I'm not looking down to make eye contact. I'm trying to read the script. And I'm like, I put so many questions together. I'm like, what does this one say again? And so next one I want to ask you is, what is the most rewarding part of being a motivational speaker? I know you already talked about, talking in front of people, but what is the most rewarding thing that you get out of it? I know people who listen to you hear your story and get inspired, but what do you get out of it?
The most rewarding thing to me Because when after I do a speech, being approached by an individual and having them tell their story, that I was the one threw my story out to them, they really got encouraged. I know it's not about me personally, but be able to share my story, help them open up and tell their story and get them where they need to become.
Absolutely. Now let's see, looking for a good one. Like I said, most of these are acting lessons, so I'm trying to figure out what would be a good one to change. How do you work in a stressful situation?
I face stressful situations all the time, as anyone with disabilities knows. Even the smallest things are difficult for us to achieve or accomplish. From zipping up your jacket or buttoning your shirt, you name it, it's difficult. But the biggest thing is to take a deep breath, slow down, realize it might take you longer, but you're going to get accomplished. Don't get frustrated, don't get stressed, just ease into it, and then get done.
You know, it's funny, that's the type of lesson they would ask you. And there's this website where you can get a whole list of questions, and most of them ask, like on a job interview. I'm like, I really don't want to do that on my show because my show is not like a job interview. So I don't. So, but one of the questions they would ask is, "How are you in a stressful situation?" And I'm going to use whenever the hell I go back to work when this pandemic is over. I'm going to use what you said. You know, just slow it down and just break it down so you understand it. Because if you get overwhelmed, all you're doing is wasting your time and my time, and you got to make the whole thing worse.
And as you notice, biologically, the more you get stressed, the more your brain shuts down on you. And no one wants that. So
I
take
didn't know
a deep
that.
breath, actually.
Hey, you told me something new. Do you ever want I want to ask you, let's see, looking for a good one. Have you, with everything that you've gone through, have you progressed in your career the same way that you wanted to?
It's a little bit different because I retired at 33, forced retirement. So no, it's not the way that my life would have gone, career would have gone if I had stayed outside sales, because I cannot accomplish that anymore. However, my life story is far beyond anything I do in a career setting.
I'll say I was, I thought there was more. But I've actually found this one interesting. If a friend would openly badmouth your motivational teaching skills, how would you handle the situation?
First of all, a true friend would not say something negative about what you're doing. They're not a friend, they're a friend to me. So what you want to do is treat them with kindness and not try to get back at them. But you can have that relationship and find someone to support what you're doing.
No, I agree with you. You know, you find more hypocrites than actually nice people. You know, for me, you know, it's one is the expression of when you have a Band-Aid, you slowly peel it off because you don't want that it's not an actual Band-Aid. It's just the expression of you sugarcoat it so you don't want to hurt someone's feelings. But there are some people like, just rip the Band-Aid off. Just be brutally honest how you feel about this person and just move on. You know, it's always better to be upfront than, you know, kick around like, well, this is what I really wanted to say, but you're very sensitive. I'm the type of person to say, you know what? You don't like me. The hell is you. I'm going to go make myself a better person. And you use that as motivation. But there's a couple of things I do want to talk to you off the line. But wrapping up with the last 2 minutes, the last question I want to ask you is, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your honest first reaction? What made you say yes? And after being a guest, how do you feel now? And would you recommend it to other people? You can be brutally honest.
I'm going to be brutalized. Fasten your seatbelt, Keith. When you first approached me, I was nothing but honored. I said, "You want to talk to me?" Because being verbally challenged, I still face it every day. And I was like, "I'm going to be on the show. Thank you so much. I'm honored." And second, I was like, this could be another springboard, further opportunities to speak or to help others. They could tune into you and listen to what you have to say, what I have to say, and make a difference. We'll just take part together, Brad.
Oh, absolutely. For me, you can always watch from all my other seasons, under so many different ways. Before Zoom, I had to decorate my brother's bed. But besides that, sometimes my last season, I would actually write on an index card, okay, actor, director, motivational speaker, 4 questions, and I'll be like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. I would ask you questions off the top of my head without a script. And then I'm just thinking, you know what? Why not do something different and actually have a script? Not really a script, a list full of questions. So that's why occasionally I look down. But I try to make the show different. For people who say I'm kind of like a motivational speaker, inspirations, that's nice. I kind of don't see myself like that, but it's nice.
You said you are.
I appreciate that. People for me, like I read and learn at a middle school, high school level. For an example, someone gave you a script, no problem. For me, if something was like a question, like if I was doing a test online, I would have to have that read to me. And then, can you give me an example? Can you break it down for me? Because I read at a slower pace. I fall under the category of being on the spectrum of being retarded because I learn at a slower pace. So he might repeat the question to you 2, maybe 3 times. But for me, if it's really stressful, you have to do like 5, 6 times. It's like, can you give me an example of this? Well, can you give me, I don't know what that word means. Can you give me an example of what that word means? So because I learn slower, that's why people think I don't have the skills of doing what I'm saying to do. A lot of people actually said to me, "Oh, Keith, you say you have a disability, but if you didn't say anything, we would think you're a liar, and you're just putting like a mask on." Disabilities are different. Obviously, we can see yours, but for mine, it's more mental than physical. There's hundreds of thousands of disabilities out there. Just because you can't see it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. But with the whole world as we live in, if you can't see it, obviously people think it's make-believe. But, we can talk about dimensions and facts or BS or whatever you want to call it. But the truth of the matter is, at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself in a mirror and you can smile, then you're a good, hardworking person. If you can't look at yourself in your own reflection, then you have to work on yourself. But the biggest step is looking in the mirror and saying, I like what I see. Once you say, I don't, then you know what? Get your crap together and give yourself a makeover and work on yourself and be a better person. But with that being said, I do have a couple of questions for you off the air. But
I didn't finish your other question.
Oh, what was the other question?
And though back to your other question. You said, what made me say yes? The reason I said yes is what you talked about. I was really impressed with you and what you've accomplished. And I want to be a part of that to support you and support your efforts. And after being on the show, I get more honored than ever because I've gotten this chance to get to know you better, what you've overcome, learning your story, and having the opportunity to tell mine.
Oh, absolutely. Now, wrapping up the talk show, everyone can follow you on social media. Your Instagram will be on the bottom of the screen. But wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. Thank you for giving me the time to talk to you. I really appreciate it. While wrapping up, until we meet again, catch you later.